I can make you walk again. The millionaire laughed, until an incredible truth was revealed. Jake sat in his wheelchair, staring at the golden leaves spiraling down from the oak trees that lined the dirt road outside his farmhouse. The crisp autumn afternoon felt bittersweet. He had traded his calloused hands digging into the soil for a life of dependent motions, and it weighed heavily on him. He felt like a ghost haunting a home that no longer fit him. Lily, his wife, was at the diner, working another double shift to pay bills, her soft smile now overshadowed by exhaustion. Their 2 kids, once carefree and hilarious, carried the weight of worry on their shoulders. Jake had become a burden, and the crushing realization twisted in his gut he was failing them. Then came Samuel, striding confidently into Maple Grove, a whirlwind of tailored suits and city charm. I can make you walk again, he declared with a brashness that echoed down the main street. Laughter erupted among the townsfolk. Had he lost his mind? They shook their heads, disbelief drowning any impulse to take him seriously. How could someone who moved through life with such privilege understand the grit and grind of their small-town dreams? But as laughter filled the air, Jake's heart sank further. Could there truly be a way to reclaim the life he once had? Samuel's words hung there, shimmering like a mirage, tempting yet unreal. Come on. Imagine it a new reality, Samuel proclaimed, raising fervor among a few curious faces. Jake's heart raced. Yet, the skepticism of his neighbors tainted his hope. The struggle of his family molded every moment into something fragile. Just when the air turned heavy with doubt, whispers began to spin about Samuel's past. His smile, it seemed, was a mask for personal grief, the loss of a child years ago. Suddenly, it wasn't just Jake's fight anymore. Samuel was entangled in his own struggle, his own yearning for redemption reflected in the farm vanished from the dust of his wealth. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With each passing day, Samuel's efforts to connect with the community began to melt the icy barrier surrounding Jake's heart. Could an outsider really understand? Jake felt resentment wearing thin, replaced by the faintest ember of hope. When Samuel spontaneously volunteered around the farm, laughter began to punctuate the somber lines of their lives. On the brink of consideration, a sudden knock interrupted the moment. Jake wheeled towards the door, anticipation buzzed in his ears. Who could be there? Tension hung thick, and as he opened the door, an unexpected visitor stood there, someone from his past, a familiar face that would force Jake to confront the deepest layers of his heartache and, perhaps, the very meaning of healing. Would this revelation bind them all together or unravel them entirely? The weight rested there, heavy and electric, in that moment of uncertainty, as Maple Grove held its breath in anticipation of what would come next. The door creaked open, and there she stood, Megan, his high school sweetheart. Time had altered her, leaving her with a sheen of sophistication yet somehow familiar. Her eyes, still bright and piercing, locked onto his. A laugh escaped her lips, a mixture of disbelief and nostalgia. Jake. Wow, it's been a long time. Yeah, he replied, voice gravelly, as if dust had settled in his throat. The warmth of her presence tugged at memories, both sweet and achingly painful. I heard about your accident. I'm so sorry, she said, stepping cautiously into his life, assessing the physical barriers around him. The living room, once a hub of joy and laughter filled with kids' toys, now felt like a museum of loss and resignation. What are you doing here, Megan? He tried to sound indifferent, but the words slipped through with unsteady urgency. I was just passing through Maple Grove and I thought maybe you could use a friend. She took a breath, an edge of vulnerability trembling in her voice. I wanted to see how you were coping. Jake's heart was torn between joy and resentment. Friend? Did she really understand the depth of his struggles? Memories of carefree days under the sun flooded back, but now they were tainted with the shadows of his current reality. I'm managing, he said curtly, avoiding the weight of her gaze. Managing is not living, Jake, Megan offered softly, her tone challenging him to look deeper. It was a spark she knew would ignite something he had buried beneath layers of hurt. You don't have to bear this alone. He scoffed, pushing back the rush of emotions threatening to break free. What could you possibly know about my life now? You moved on. The words were sharper than he intended, cutting through the air between them like a knife. Megan hesitated, her face a mosaic of hurt and understanding. I moved on from Maple Grove, yes. But I never moved on from you, from us. There's not a day that goes by without thinking about what we shared. Silence hung heavily. Jake's resolve wavered. Deep down, he craved connection, yet he felt ashamed to expose his struggles. The kids needed a strong father, not a shadow of a man who wept over memories of better days. Why are you really here? He pressed. You want to play the savior now? Partly, she admitted, dipping her chin. But also because I need you to know that I see you, Jake. I see the man who fought for every inch of his life. And yes, I know I can't take your pain away, but maybe I can help you find a way through it. The door swung open further as Samuel joined them, his confident stride halting at the sight of Megan. Jake, I thought I'd find you here. The tension shifted, and Samuel scrutinized the space between them. Just catching up, Jake replied flatly, his expression a mask of confusion. Samuel's face held a flicker of recognition, a hint that perhaps he understood the ground Jake was treading. Good. That's what you need, a support system, Samuel stated, encouragingly. The warmth in his tone clashed with the chill of Jake's skepticism. Megan folded her arms, eyeing Samuel. And who exactly are you, then? Jake's heart raced. The confrontation made him uneasy. Who was this interloper who had suddenly assumed a pivotal role in his life? I'm just a man trying to help, Samuel responded, but his confidence wavered under Megan's intense scrutiny. Jake's mind danced with conflict. Here they were, two people from different worlds, both offering him something he thought he had lost forever: hope. But could he trust them? As the sunlight faded outside, casting shadows across the floor, Jake felt the pull of their combined presence. Would this unexpected reunion propel him toward healing, or would he be swallowed whole by the weight of their past connections? The air crackled with unanswered questions, and he grasped for certainty, feeling its elusiveness slip through his fingers, and in that moment, he realized it, he had to make a choice. It was a crossroads he hadn't anticipated, where friendship, regret, and hope intertwined. What direction would he take? Would he open his heart again to the possibility of healing, or retreat further into the shadows of his insecurities? The moment hung suspended, waiting for his answer. With the future stretching out before him like an untraveled path, Jake knew that whatever decision he made, it would change everything. Jake felt the weight of their stares as if the air in the room thickened with unspoken questions. Megan's face was a canvas of empathy, while Samuel stood steadfast, his sincerity radiating against the chaos inside Jake's mind. The silence around them was heavy, and Jake was acutely aware of the fading daylight outside, the hues of orange and pink casting warm shadows that seemed to offer a sliver of hope, a stark contrast to the freezing emotions swirling within him. What if I said I don't want saving? He finally replied, his voice barely above a whisper. The words felt like quicksand, pulling him deeper into a pit of despair. Megan stepped closer, her eyes soft yet resolute. It's not about saving. It's about being there. You've lived so long in isolation. Sharing your burden doesn't mean you're weak, Jake, it means you're human. A gust of wind flowed through the half-open door, making him shiver as memories of warmth and laughter flickered in his mind. Those lazy afternoons spent laughing with Megan under the old oak tree, the way she would smile at him, lifting the corners of her lips, making him believe they could conquer the world together. Do you really think you can help? That you can make this? He gestured at his fallen body, his heart, and his soul, better. The words choked him, and he fought to keep the tears at bay. Samuel took a step forward, breaking the tension. What if I told you I have a program, a way to regain your mobility? His voice was steady, filled with conviction. I'm working with some incredible specialists. They've made breakthroughs with rehabilitation. It's not a miracle, but it's hope. Jake's disbelief bubbled up, a mixture of irritation and intrigue. You don't even know what I've been through. You don't understand. I don't have to understand every detail to care, Samuel countered firmly. What I do know is that you're not alone in this fight. You have the power to take control back. Megan's gaze softened in a way that disarmed him. Think of your kids, Jake. They need you in their life, not just as a father but as the person you used to be. You can't give them what you don't have yourself. The mention of his children pierced through the haze of fear. They were the very reason he fought damn hard to hold on to hope, even when it felt like nothing was left to grasp. Do you really think I can walk again? He finally asked, the hope in his voice wavering like a candle in the wind. Not just walk, but take back everything you thought you lost, Samuel assured him, his eyes brightening with conviction. I've seen this work. People who believed they were at the end of their rope. It's not just about physical healing, it's about reclaiming your life. Jake's heart raced, pounding against his ribs with a force that felt almost foreign. Could he? Could he really try again? The concept teetered on the edge of his mind, begging for a chance. Megan leaned in closer, her hands gentle on his arm. You'll never know unless you try. Just one step, that's all it takes. With every word they shared, the shadows in the room seemed to dissipate a little more. The warmth of connection began to seep in where only numbness had resided, yet doubt lingered at the edge of his thoughts. What if I fall? What if I can't do it? The fear escaped like a tiny whimper. Then you get back up, Samuel replied firmly, a hint of a smile creeping onto his face. Because that's what we do. We rise. We fall. We fight. Jake's head spun with a mix of hope and terror. They offered him a chance, yet he stood at the precipice, grappling with his own fears of failure once again. As he stood there, caught in the whirlwind of past pain and the flicker of hope, a question etched itself in his mind. Could he really abandon the fortress he had spent years building around his heart? The air felt electric, charged with a decision that could reshape his reality. And then it hit him. What if he took that chance? What if he embraced the fight? The flickering light from the fading day seemed to beckon him forward, urging him toward an unknown future full of possibilities. But the choice was his. The moment to leap was now. Would he step into the light, or allow the shadows to pull him back into darkness? And just as he opened his mouth to respond, a sudden disturbance caught his attention outside the window, shifting everything yet again. Jake, wait! Megan started, but the sound of a distant siren transformed their reality into something more chaotic and unsettling. Jake turned to face the window, heart pounding, as he realized it wasn't just a mere distraction. The world outside was about to unveil a truth he could never have imagined. Jake's mind raced, splitting into 1,000 thoughts as he shifted his gaze from the presence of Megan and Samuel to the chaotic scene unfolding outside. The siren's wail grew louder, echoing through the otherwise still evening air. His heart pounded, fueled by the adrenaline coursing through him. It's an ambulance, he blurted out, his voice trembling slightly. Someone's in trouble. Let us see what's going on, Samuel urged, moving towards the door with purpose. Megan followed closely, glancing back at Jake, her expression a mix of concern and encouragement. Jake could feel a pull tugging at him, a mix of curiosity and fear. Would this be another moment of discomfort? Another reminder of the barriers he faced? But deep within him, a flicker of determination sparked, tempting him to push through the overwhelming weight of uncertainty. As they stepped out into the crisp evening air, the scene before them was shocking. A crowd had gathered around a small car that had veered off the road, crumpled against a tree. The blue and red lights of the ambulance swirled, casting eerie shadows against the dusk. "Oh no," Megan whispered, placing a hand over her mouth. "Do you see that woman?" Jake followed her gaze. A woman was trapped inside the vehicle, panic etched on her face. He could feel her terror wash over him like a tidal wave. The image churned in his stomach. "Megan." His voice came out hoarse, almost pleading. "What if it were one of our kids in there?" "Exactly," she replied, biting her lip. "We have to do something." The crowd started to murmur, some people pulling out their phones to capture the moment rather than help. Jake felt sick at the thought, anger bubbling up inside him. He couldn't just stand there. He hadn't been in this state forever. He had been functional, capable. The memories clashed with his current reality, but the urge to assist pushed aside his lingering doubts for a moment. "I can help." Before he even processed his own words, Jake began to move towards the wreckage, his legs feeling oddly buoyant and alive. Megan and Samuel exchanged anxious glances but followed, their concern now fused with urgency. "Jake, wait. Are you sure?" Samuel called, rushing behind him. With every step, Jake felt a shift inside. His heart raced, not just from fear but from adrenaline. This was at the edge of reclaiming a piece of himself. The closer he got to the car, the more he could see the woman's face, full of desperation. "Stay calm. I'm coming to help," he shouted as he reached the vehicle, bending awkwardly to get a better look inside. "Are you all right?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "Help is on the way. Just hold on." Tears glimmered in her eyes as she nodded, trying to calm her breathing. He spotted a seatbelt holding her back, and instincts kicked in. Would it be possible? Could he really play a part in saving her? Just then, a loud crack erupted from the back of the car, and Jake flinched. "Get back!" he shouted, but it was too late. The pressure from the engine had caused a small explosion, flames licking at the edges of the wreckage. Fear washed over him in waves, but he refused to succumb. "Help is here!" he yelled again, looking back at the gathering crowd. "Someone! We need tools. Ropes." Samuel rushed to fetch help, while Megan's voice was frantic as she called for the firefighters. Time felt like a grasping hand, trying to pull them all back. A desperate instinct surged through Jake, igniting something deep inside. Would he fight against the odds? Would he use this moment to push past the pain? As he crouched down, preparing to assist the woman, a memory glimmered in the depths of his mind, his children's faces shining bright, their laughter echoing in time with his heartbeat. Stepping back, he could only hope that whatever energy this moment had unleashed, whatever power he could muster, would be enough to change not just her future, but his own. But as sirens wailed in the distance, Jake realized that every moment spent here was taking him closer to the edge where he might just find the strength to step into his own light. Would he embrace the call to fight? Or would this moment slip through his fingers, just like others before? The answer couldn't wait. Jake's heart pounded in his chest, adrenaline surging through him as he fought against the urge to flee from the chaos that was unfolding before his eyes. The flames flickered menacingly, casting their glow on the terrified features of the woman trapped in the car. He knew time was running out. Every second felt like an eternity, and the shadows of his doubts crept in, whispering reasons to retreat. Yet, the image of her fearful face etched itself into his mind. He couldn't back down now. "Don't worry, help is on the way." He shouted once more, but his voice was drowned out by the crackle of flames and the panic of the crowd. In that moment, he caught a glimpse of her hands, trembling, trying to free herself from the confines of the wreckage. "Jake!" Samuel yelled, rushing back with a fire extinguisher, a tool that could buy them crucial seconds. "Let us get her out. Quick! The seatbelt!" Jake directed, his worry magnified by Samuel's frantic approach. Jake pushed his fear aside and focused on the task at hand. His hands shook, not only from the heat radiating from the vehicle but from the overwhelmed emotions swirling inside him. As Samuel sprayed the flames with a steady stream of foam, Jake leaned into the car. "What is your name?" he asked the woman desperately, trying to ground her in the panic. "Lisa," she cried, her voice a mix of fear and relief as she met his gaze. The intensity of her look ignited something in him. "Lisa, we're going to get you out. You just need to breathe, okay?" The connection forged in that moment was electric, surging between them. Jake felt empowered, even as the fire crackled ominously at their backs. "I'm so scared," she whimpered, tears streaming down her face, and Jake's heart twisted. Everyone in that crowd, those mere spectators, could sense the urgency, the importance of what he was trying to do. "Me too," he admitted quietly, but he could not let her see his fear. "But I want you to know that you're not alone. We're all here with you." With Samuel holding back the flames, Jake wrestled with the stubborn seatbelt, his hand struggling against the clasp. It had been so long since he had felt this much pressure, this much responsibility on his shoulders. He felt a shift, a determination that couldn't be denied. This was his moment. "Hold on, Lisa. I'm so close." Sweat trickled down his face as he finally felt the seatbelt give way, releasing its grip. "You're free." Lisa, though still shaky and terrified, found the will within herself. With Jake's reassuring presence, she began to move, her body instinctively shifting toward him. "Now, I need you to push with me. Use your legs," Jake urged, adrenaline supercharging his senses. Their eyes locked once more, and for a fleeting moment, Jake felt invincible. As he pulled her towards the door, the world around them blurred, kinetic energy buzzing in the air. They were both tumbling through the wreckage of fear, hope igniting a fire within them that rivaled the one behind them. Just as they were about to escape the vehicle, the sound of a distant siren grew closer. The fire department was finally arriving. Relief mingled with uncertainty. Would they make it out before it was too late? With one final push, Jake ushered Lisa from the clutches of the crumpled metal. As they landed on solid ground, the crowd erupted in cheers, but Jake leaned over, breathless. "You did it. You're safe now." Tears of gratitude sparkled in Lisa's eyes, and a cascade of emotions surged through Jake. In that moment, something within him began to transform. Each heartbeat felt like a step away from the shadows that had lingered too long. But as sirens blared around them and firefighters rushed to contain the blaze, Jake could hear a small voice inside him. What if this is just the beginning? Would this newfound courage lead him to confront the other challenges in his life? Or would he retreat once more into the safety of his hidden fears? The answer hung in the air, ripe with possibility, as the chaos of the night began to settle. Jake stood frozen, his heart still racing as he watched the firefighters spring into action. Water spewed over the flames, turning the night into a chaotic dance of steam and light. Meanwhile, Lisa trembled beside him, her hands gripping his arms as if he were a lifeline, anchoring her back to reality. Thank you so much," she whispered, and the sincerity in her voice made his heart swell. Her eyes glimmered with relief and disbelief, but also lingered on fear. Jake could see that the memory of that car would haunt her for a long time. "Just breathe, Lisa," he said softly, trying to pull her from the brink of her panic. "You're safe now." But the truth was, the moment their eyes connected, Jake had fought for more than just her safety. He was fighting for something deep within himself. As the flames diminished and the chaos subsided, the crowd slowly began to disperse. Some people were still on their phones, capturing the moment, while others whispered among themselves, awestruck by the unexpected heroism they had just witnessed. Jake felt the weight of their gazes but quickly focused on Lisa, who was now staring at the wreckage as if it were a monster lurking in the dark. "Do you want some water?" he asked, trying to bring her mind back. "Yeah, that would be good," she replied, her voice faltering. He guided her to a nearby paramedic who stood with a bottle, their blue uniform contrasting sharply with the blackened wreck behind them. As she took a sip, Jake felt a wave of relief wash over him, but it was short-lived. The adrenaline was fading, exposing the fatigue he didn't know he had been holding at bay. He realized that he wasn't just nursing another's wounds, he was tending to his own too. "Hey, Lisa," he began, wanting to break the unsettling silence. "What were you doing out here tonight?" I was just driving back from a friend's party," she said, her gaze shifting to the ground. "I didn't even see the other car. It all happened so fast." Jake nodded, understanding the weight of her reality. "That's all it takes, isn't it? Just a second." "Yeah," she whispered. "All your plans, gone in an instant." For a heartbeat, they both stood there, grappling with the fragility of life. Yet, as she met his eyes again, there was something more there, a glimmer of hope amid the shadows. "I didn't think I could get through it, honestly," Lisa said, her voice steadier now. "But I just did what anyone would do," he interrupted, trying to downplay his role. "No, Jake. You did more than that," she said. "You reminded me of what it means to fight for yourself." The words washed over him, igniting a spark within. But just as he felt that spark bloom, Samuel returned, breaking the moment. "Hey, man. They're gonna want statements from us. You ready?" "Yeah, I'm coming," Jake replied, casting one last glance at Lisa. Something told him this wouldn't be the last time they crossed paths. "Jake?" she called softly as he turned away. "Yeah. Thank you for being my hero tonight." That simple acknowledgement wrapped around his heart, squeezing tightly as he followed Samuel. Yet, in the distance, the city lights flickered, so many lives still spinning out of control. Realizing that Lisa's accident was just one thread in the tapestry of unpredictability, Jake felt a sudden resolve crystallize within him. If he had the power to save one life, could he reach out to others stranded in their own storms? As he approached Samuel, thoughts of confronting his own fears and the challenges that lay ahead began to swirl in his mind. This was no ordinary life experience, it was a doorway to something more profound. What if this was just the beginning of his journey? Jake felt a new energy rising in him, one that begged to be unleashed. Little did he know that the next chapter of his life would knock on his door sooner than expected, an offer that could change everything. Jake woke up the next morning with a strange mix of excitement and unease. The events of the previous night lingered like an echo between the walls of his mind. He had never thought of himself as a hero, yet here he was, haunted by the weight of Lisa's gratitude. It had stirred something deep within, urging him to take control of his own life. He rolled out of bed, running a hand through his tousled hair. The small apartment felt both confining and cozy, a sanctuary where he could hide from his thoughts. Outside, the sun shone bright, illuminating the cracks in the pavement and the weeds pushing through. Jake sighed, his fingers tracing the outline of his phone, heavy with possibilities. As he prepared for the day, thoughts of Lisa permeated his morning routine. He had exchanged numbers with her, but what was he supposed to say? "Hey, remember me? The guy who pulled you from a burning car?" It sounded ridiculous, but it was part of their reality now. Maybe she needed more reassurance or just a friend to help her through. His phone buzzed. It took a moment to register. He picked it up. A message from Samuel flashed across the screen. "You good for that coffee? Got something important to discuss." Jake's heart skipped. Coffee with Samuel meant either trouble or transformation. They often ended up discussing life choices over caffeine, and today felt ripe for change. Arriving at their usual spot, Jake spotted Samuel already seated at their favorite table. He looked serious, the usual lightheartedness replaced by a palpable tension. "Hey, man, what's up?" Jake asked, sliding into his seat. "I need your help," Samuel replied, leaning in. His voice was low, almost conspiratorial. "There's this charity event my family is hosting next week. They need someone to speak about community support, and I thought of you." "Me? Speaking?" Jake chuckled nervously. The idea terrified him, but within that fear was a flicker of interest. "Yeah, you. After what happened last night, you showed courage, man. You saved that girl. You're a perfect example of someone who cares." His heart swelled at the words. Jake pictured Lisa's grateful smile, the weight of her words crashing over him with a sense of purpose. "Maybe, but I've never done anything like that. What do I even say?" Samuel's eyes shone with determination. "You tell your story. You tell them how fleeting life is. People need to hear about love and hope. You're living proof that one moment can change everything. It could spark courage in others, Jake." "But what if I mess up?" he said, worry creeping back in. "Then you mess up. But you'll have done it. You'll have stepped out of the shadows. Trust me, man. This is for you, too." Jake felt a pull in his gut. Stepping out before others. Transparency. It was terrifying, but there was liberation tucked within that fear. At the same time, doubts circled above like vultures. "Okay," he finally said, the word feeling foreign on his tongue. "I'll do it." Samuel's face broke into a grin. "We'll practice. You'll crush it." As they sipped their coffees, plans began to take shape in Jake's mind, mingling with thoughts of Lisa. Rescues weren't always about the big moments, they could be found in words, in sharing, in vulnerability. Just then, his phone buzzed again. A message from Lisa flashed on the screen. "Hey, Jake. I hope you're doing okay. Can we talk?" A rush of adrenaline surged through him. He glanced at Samuel, who raised his eyebrows knowingly, a grin creeping across his face. "Looks like it's time for round 2, he said. Jake felt his heart race. Suddenly, the day brimmed with potential. What did she want? Did she want to talk about the accident or something more? Before he could ponder further, a realization struck him. Every path he'd taken, every choice he made since last night had led him here toward a connection that sparked something he never knew he needed. He typed a reply and hit send. But what if this conversation opened the door to more than just friendship? What if it led to a deeper understanding of both their futures? Jake's hands trembled slightly as he waited for Lisa's response. The second stretched into what felt like an eternity. He glanced toward Samuel, who wore an encouraging smile but kept his eyes on Jake's phone. It was as if they were both holding their breath, suspended in this moment. Then, finally, a reply vibrated through the air. "Sure. Can I come by your place later? I'd like to talk." The words hit Jake like a wave. She wanted to come over. He took a deep breath, feeling a swirl of emotions: excitement, anxiety, and a small spark of hope. What would she say? What could they talk about beyond that harrowing night? He hesitated for a moment, his mind racing through possible scenarios. Would she thank him again, or maybe ask about his life? "Everything okay?" Samuel nudged him. "You look like you just saw a ghost." "Yeah, I'm fine," Jake replied too quickly, his voice almost cracking. "She wants to come by later." Samuel leaned back, hands behind his head. "This is good. Maybe she'll need someone to lean on. You've got this." Jake forced a smile, trying to mask the knots forming in his stomach. They chatted a bit longer over coffee, but Jake's thoughts danced around the impending visit. He threw a quick glance at the cafe clock, counting down the hours until Lisa would arrive. After lunch, Jake hurried home. He cleaned up his small space, nervously adjusting the cushions on his couch and straightening the magazines scattered on his coffee table. With every minute, memories of that night revisited him, haunting his thoughts. He remembered every scream, every shred of fear as he rushed to save her. The doorbell rang, jolting him from his memories. His heart raced as he opened the door to find Lisa standing there, looking fragile yet strong. "Hey, Jake," she said softly, her eyes flickering with mixed emotions. "Hey. Come in." He stepped aside, gesturing for her to enter. Her expression was warm but slightly guarded. She appeared like someone who had stared death in the face and was still trying to process everything. They settled onto the couch, an awkward silence hovering between them like a dense fog. Jake could feel his pulse quickening. There wasn't a right script for this. "I'm glad you're okay," he finally broke the silence, the words tumbling out, genuine and tinged with relief. "Thanks to you," Lisa replied, her voice steady, but her eyes reflected vulnerability. "I've been thinking a lot since that night." Jake nodded, his heart aching for her. "Me too. I can't imagine what you're feeling." Lisa sighed softly, glancing down at her hands, tracing the scars. "I think I can. It's like everything has shifted. I should be thankful, but I keep replaying it in my head. I feel lost and confused." Jake felt the air grow thick around them. He wanted to reach out, to hold her hand and tell her it was okay to feel what she felt, that she wasn't alone. But could his words be enough? "Sometimes," Lisa continued, "I wish I could just see what's next. Like I want to know if this was just a fluke or if life will keep throwing things at me like this." He watched her, really watched her, and it struck him. She was talking about her past but asking for her future. At this moment, he wanted to be that beacon for her, to guide her through, even if he didn't fully understand it himself. "Whatever happens next, Lisa, I'll be here," Jake said, his voice stronger than he felt. "You're not alone. Well, together we can figure it out." Her gaze lifted, and for a moment, hope shimmered in her eyes. "Thank you. It's just I'm scared. I never thought a day would come when I'd have to grapple with something like this." They both fell silent, the weight of unexpressed emotion starting to fill the room. There was an unspoken understanding passing between them, a promise of connection. Maybe they could face the uncertainties together. Just then, Jake's phone chimed again, pulling him back to the present. He glanced at the screen and saw a notification for the charity event Samuel had mentioned earlier. It jolted something in him. A thought emerged, playful yet profound. What if I challenge you, Lisa? What if that fear is something we both face together? Her brow lifted, curiosity intertwining with apprehension. What do you mean? I'm going to speak at this charity event next week. You should come with me, maybe even share what you're feeling. It could help. Her eyes widened. Share my story? In front of people? You can't be serious. Why not? You've got the courage to face that night. Why shouldn't you share it with others? They locked eyes, and in that unguarded moment, Jake sensed he might just be onto something that could spark a new direction for both of them. What would it mean for her to step out like that? What might she discover along the way? Lisa pursed her lips, weighing his words, contemplation etched across her face. Maybe I will. Jake could hardly contain the swell of hope blooming in his chest. But, he couldn't shake one thought: could this journey truly begin to heal the scars in both their hearts? Only time would tell. Jake watched as a flicker of determination ignited in Lisa's eyes. She seemed to be wrestling with her own doubts, but he felt a rush of adrenaline. This was a turning point. They could confront their fears, together, in front of others who might need to hear their story. Just think about it, he said gently, wanting to urge her forward. It's a way to take control back, you know. A chance to show that we're more than just survivors of that night. Lisa remained quiet. He could see the gears turning in her mind. Her expression shifted from apprehension to something softer, a glimmer of hope. Maybe. He leaned in, excited by the prospect. We can prepare together. I know some people there. We can practice what you want to say. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be real. A small smile broke through her tension. You really think we can do this? I know we can, Jake replied firmly, hoping to instill confidence in her. Just picture it, speaking to a crowd, sharing your story. Imagine how healing that could be. Lisa bit her lip, her gaze drifting toward the window. Outside, the sun was beginning to set, casting a warm, golden glow across the room. For a moment, they both lost themselves in thought, the sinking sun reflecting the weight of the day's conversations. Okay, she finally said, breaking the spell. Let us give it a shot. I'll try. Jake clapped his hands together, excitement bubbling within him. That's the spirit. We'll make it happen. But deep down, a shadow of doubt crept in. What if this did more harm than good? What if she relived her trauma in front of others? He quickly pushed that thought aside, focusing instead on supporting Lisa. They spent the next hour discussing ideas and potential angles for her speech. Lisa shared fragments of her thoughts, her fears, and her hopes, each word revealing more of the woman hidden behind her scars. Jake listened closely, occasionally sharing his own experiences in vulnerable moments. He realized how their pain echoed through each other's stories, creating an unexpected bond. As the evening progressed, something shifted in the room. The air became charged with a feeling of camaraderie. They were no longer just two individuals dealing with their own trauma. They were allies. This feels good, Lisa finally admitted, her voice steady. I haven't talked about this with anyone else like this before. Jake smiled, warmth spreading through him. It's a start. And we have a whole week to prepare. We'll figure it out together. Just then, his phone buzzed again. Another notification, this time from Samuel. A simple message popped up, how's it going? Ready for the event? Jake glanced at Lisa, whose eyes mirrored his own excitement. Ready? Oh, I think we're about to take on the world. As they both continued to chat, laughter mingling with seriousness, Jake felt a deep sense of connection. Yet, even with the hope blooming around them, a deep-rooted worry tugged at his heart. Would this path truly be the answer they both needed? Lisa caught him lost in thought. What's on your mind? He hesitated, then decided to share just a bit of his fear. I just hope this helps, us, I mean. It can't be just about facing our fears, it needs to lead to something meaningful. She nodded, her expression thoughtful. I think it will. But maybe the journey matters just as much. Maybe it's okay to not know all the answers right now. Her words sank deep, and he shifted slightly, realizing she was right. The journey was their path to healing. As the evening came to a close, Lisa stood to leave. She looked back at Jake, a hint of gratitude in her eyes. Thanks for pushing me. I really didn't think I'd be ready for this. Jake chuckled softly. We're in this together, remember? As she walked out, Jake felt a flicker of something new, anticipation. But a question lingered in his mind: what would happen when they stood on that stage, vulnerability on display? Only time would reveal the truth. The night of the charity event arrived, and Jake's pulse thrummed in his ears as he paced back and forth in his small living room. He could hear the faint sounds of the crowd outside, laughter mingling with soft music, as the scent of anticipation wafted through the air. Today was not just about speaking for the charity, it was about facing demons and embracing hope. He glanced at his reflection in the window, an image reflected back that still felt foreign. The man in the glass had fought to reclaim himself, yet doubt seeped into his thoughts. Would he be enough? Would he manage to inspire others as Samuel believed he could? Just then, the doorbell pulled him from his musings. Jake! Are you ready? Samuel's voice cut through the storm brewing in his heart. It was steady, a steadying force perched at the threshold of his transformation. Jake took a deep breath and opened the door. Yeah, I think so, he replied, forcing a smile. Samuel stepped inside, dressed sharply, his energy contagious. You look nervous, Samuel said, sensing the tension etched on Jake's face. Breathe. You've got this. We all believe in you. With each reassuring word, Jake felt the tension dissolve, a connection that connected him to the very essence of home he had been missing. They arrived at the venue together, and the warmth of the crowd enveloped him, lighting up every corner of his soul. Laughter filled the air, mingling with the sound of clinking glasses and voices embracing each other. It felt like a breath of fresh air, a reminder of how life can be. Once they stepped into the main area, Jake's gaze caught Lisa across the room. She stood at a table, her presence transforming the atmosphere around her. He took a moment to admire her. She wore a brave smile, and for a fleeting second, the worries dissipated in the glow of her determination. She spotted him and waved, her face beaming with that light he longed to see again. "Hey! Are you ready for this?" she asked, stepping closer to Jake. Her confidence was infectious, and it flickered a spark within him. "More than ready," he said, feeling the rush of encouragement fuel his budding resolve. "We'll face this together, right? As partners." Lisa replied, nodding confidently. Then came the announcement, and the energy shifted. The hosts called for the first speaker, and Jake felt the stir of nerves surge through him again. "Guess that's me," he muttered, feeling a knot tighten in his stomach. "Go out there and just be yourself," Samuel encouraged with a supportive grin. Stepping up to the microphone, Jake paused, surveying the sea of faces before him, some familiar, others unknown. A hush fell over the room as anticipation settled in, and he took a moment to center himself. "My name is Jake," he began, his voice trembling slightly. "Not long ago, I found myself confined in a wheelchair, feeling lost and broken. I thought my life was over, that I'd forever be a burden. But then something changed." He shared the story, the accident that had changed him, the rescue that had laid the foundation of his fight for life again, and everything that led to this moment. He talked about Lisa's struggle, the bond they had formed, holding the vulnerability of their shared stories like a lifeline. Glimpses of realization passed through the room, a sense of unity blossomed among the crowd. He could see them nodding, leaning in as his words danced from hope to fear and back. It's easy to forget that we're not alone. Life throws curveballs at us that feel insurmountable. But together, we can change those narratives. We can find strength in facing our fears and rising again. Applause erupted, the sound blooming brighter than ever. The warmth washed over him, fueling his spirit, and he continued, "True courage lies in sharing our stories. Don't just survive, let us thrive." As Jake stepped away from the mic, exhilaration thundered in his heart. But that wasn't the only heart beating stronger tonight. He could see the change in Lisa's eyes, and it ignited a fire deep inside him. Later, as they both mingled with the crowd, they exchanged smiles and soft words of encouragement, reminding each other of the hope they had breathed into the world. "Jake, you were incredible," Lisa said, tears glistening in her eyes. "We did it." "Yes, we did. But it's just the beginning." "I can feel it," he replied softly, knowing there were still mountains to climb, but now there was a clear view from where they stood. In that moment, Jake saw a reflection of himself, no longer a shadow, but a man reclaiming his life. A sense of wholeness settled into his bones as bonds formed with new friends, all stitched together through shared intentions and stories that sparked hope among them. Hours later, while the lights dimmed and the energy in the room waned, Jake and Lisa stepped out onto the porch, welcomed by the crisp night air, shadows fading around them. Together, they laughed, they reminisced, and they embraced the uncertainty ahead. "Are you ready for whatever comes next?" Lisa asked. "With you by my side?" "Absolutely," Jake replied, each syllable carrying weight and conviction. And in that moment, as they looked up at the starlit sky, they felt the world opening up before them, the future no longer daunting, but filled with possibility and transformation. This was their journey. And together, they were prepared to take the next steps, hand in hand, into the brilliance of an unwritten tomorrow. Now is the time for you to embrace this moment. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support is everything. I want to hear your reactions and feelings about the ending, so comment below, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. True fans unite.